faith with the United States to negotiate a new comprehensive trade deal. We've been under no illusions. We recognized from the start that America has changed. Canada will match Washington's new tariffs dollar for dollar in order to protect Canadian workers, farmers, families, and businesses. Our response will be concentrated in sectors such as steel, dairy, appliances, agricultural equipment, pulp and paper, and electronics. This is a focused response to protect and defend our industries and allow them to compete with U.S. products in the Canadian market. We take this step reluctantly because we recognize that some of these measures will raise costs and reduce choice for Canadians. Reluctantly because we recognize that some U.S. companies and some U.S. states are innocent bystanders in a dispute that they did not want. Reluctantly because this trade dispute is preventing Canada and America from doing so much good that we could do together. But at the same time, we take this step confident that it is in the best interest of Canada. And that by rejecting a bad deal, by standing up for Canada, by focusing on what we can control, we will build Canada.
This is breaking news. Canada is escalating its trade fight with the United States after Prime Minister Mark Carney said Ottawa will respond to American tariffs with measures worth dollar for dollar. The announcement comes after Canada broke off trade talks with the United States, marking another major setback in relations between the two neighboring countries. Prime Minister Carney said Canada had been prepared to continue negotiations, but the latest developments made it clear that Ottawa needed to respond. The Canadian government says it will protect Canadian workers and businesses while making sure the country has leverage in future negotiations. The dispute centers on tariffs imposed by the United States on Canadian goods. Canada has strongly criticized the measures, arguing that they could damage industries on both sides of the border. In response, Canadian officials are preparing additional tariffs on American products. The phrase, dollar for dollar, is particularly significant because it signals that Canada intends to match the economic impact of U.S. tariffs rather than simply issue a symbolic response. The consequences could be significant. The United States and Canada have one of the world's largest trading relationships. American and Canadian companies depend heavily on cross-border trade involving automobiles, energy, agriculture, steel, manufacturing and consumer products. That means higher tariffs could increase costs for businesses and, eventually, consumers. For American companies, Canadian retaliation could make products more expensive in Canada and potentially reduce demand. For Canadian businesses, U.S. tariffs could increase the cost of selling products into the American market. And because the two economies are deeply connected, disruptions could spread through supply chains on both sides of the border. Carney's decision to walk away from trade talks also raises questions about what comes next. Will the two governments return to negotiations? Or will the latest escalation lead to an even broader trade war? Canadian officials have indicated that they still want a strong economic relationship with the United States. But they are also making it clear that Canada is prepared to retaliate if Washington continues imposing tariffs. The situation is being closely watched by industries across North America. Manufacturers are particularly concerned because many products cross the US-Canada border multiple times before reaching consumers. The longer tariffs remain in place, the greater the risk of higher production costs, supply chain disruptions and increased prices. For consumers, the biggest concern may ultimately be the price of everyday goods. For businesses, the uncertainty could make it harder to plan investments, hire workers and negotiate long-term contracts. And for both governments, the political pressure is increasing. Prime Minister Mark Carney now faces the challenge of defending Canada's economic interests while avoiding a confrontation that could become much larger. The United States, meanwhile, will have to decide whether to continue with its tariff strategy or return to the negotiating table. For now, the message from Ottawa is clear: Canada is prepared to fight back. The dollar for dollar strategy could mark a new phase in the US-Canada trade dispute, with both countries facing the possibility of higher costs and greater economic uncertainty. Whether this pressure eventually forces Washington and Ottawa back into negotiations remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the trade relationship between the United States and Canada has entered